Welcome everyone. It is going to be season 2 with Leeds United. Today we're going to get into the summer transfer window, go through all of the summer transfer window activity in terms of players in, players out, maybe some staff in and some staff out. We're going to go through and do all of that in today's episode. But first, we need to do a review of season 1 and just figure out, is there anything on reflection that we think that we should be really targeting more than others? Because there's always like your gut feel, right? There's always the things that you instinctively think. But what does the data show us? Like, what do the stats say of the season? That's what we're going to look at. There's no dividers, but you can sort of see they're categorized here. So we've got basically goals going up from goals all the way up to conversion rate or conversion ratio all the way over here. So we've got this section over here. Then you've got like assists and passing, that is sort of this section across here from passing to assists. Then from XG per 90 up until open play crosses, these three here are more like dribbling with the ball, getting into dangerous areas, and our percentage of crossing. Then you got some defensive ones. It goes from tackles per 90 all the way to key tackles per 90. Then the final three are just something aerial, and then two physical ones. Because don't forget, although it's my recreation, I do like, for a bit of Bielsa stuff, I do like to see what the distance covered per 90 and the sprints per 90 show. And not even necessarily by player, although you might get two players that are playing the exact same role in the exact same positions and you can compare. But what I like to look at it for really is to show that, is there certain positions on the pitch that are having to do way more or way less sprints than others, and are they covering different distances as well? All that kind of stuff is the main reason why I look at it. But you might be able to find out a few players. The problem with this, right, is because of the player roles that you give, if they're not symmetrical, this can affect it quite badly, right? Like if you've got two strikers and one of them is like a target forward and an outlet, and the other one's a tracker and a channel forward, they're going to be quite different, you would expect, right? They're going to be doing lots of different things, so it's hard to compare, it's hard to compare apples to apples in that kind of scenario. But I'm looking at more, it's more tactical rather than player specific. I'm looking at this. Right, the first thing I want to look at is we're going to go strikers and work backwards here, because it's easy to see as well, isn't it, in terms of what looks good anyway. What looks good in terms of our stats and data here. So let's have a look. The three strikers. Apparently, Dominic Calvert-Lewin broke a club record of 10 goals in a season in the Premier League. That can't be right, but like apparently he did. So I don't know what the exact record is. It can't be like the most goals ever by a Leeds player in the Premier League. I'm not having that. I haven't unfortunately got the Moneyball spreadsheet that I would normally do, where I'd be able to show you the average of like the top players, so we know what a good number looks like. So we haven't really got that right now. We could go through and compare against other players, but I'm gonna do a Moneyball series later in the cycle, so I don't want to get too drawn into that. I just want to use this as like is it telling us anything that we didn't already believe, either me and you, the viewers? Like, for example, let's just start off with this. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored a goal every 122 minutes. That's pretty good, and it's really good for a team in our position. Extra performance, he overachieved his XG by 3.58. That probably is the amount of headers that he scored from like difficult angles. He's obviously very good in the air. He had a conversion rate of 33%. And his shot on target ratio was 50%. Corey wasn't quite as clinical. He got more shots on target though, did Corey. And then Guiu did basically split the distance between the two of them. Obviously, Guiu's not going to be going anywhere, so he's going to be our striker. I mean, what that tells me is Corey's going to have to go anyway, because he is he's now 31. I was going to have to sell him probably anyway. Yeah, he's 31 now, so we're probably going to let Corey go. But it means that Calvert-Lewin, I could keep him, but he's worth a lot of money though, isn't he? I'm going to probably transfer list a lot of players, but not because I'm going to sell everybody. I just want to see what we can get for them, right? That's the main thing, is like Calvert-Lewin, I'm going to transfer list him, we'll offer him out. Okay, so time to look at the wide players. I have put them in order of how effective I felt like they were over the season. So I felt like Dominguez and Aydin were our two best players. I didn't really know who to put above who. Maybe Aydin should have gone above Dominguez. It doesn't really matter, but those two were the starters. But looking at this, so let's have a look. Expected assists per 90, so expected assists. That's why you can't always go off assists, because, a player could beat 5 players, roll it across the box, the striker's got an open goal, and he misses the target. It doesn't get on to an assist, so I don't really like looking at assists. It's expected assists that I look at. So Dan James got 0.4. That's really good. Open play key passes goes to Dan James as well. Some progressive passes. I tell you what, Dan James is looking pretty good on the stats, isn't he? Dribbles per 90 goes to Nonso. You can see the difference though, can't you? Dan James and Nonso dribble with the ball far more than the top two. And then the defensive ones don't really care too much about this. Anything on the sprints? Anything to see there? Not too much. Maybe Dan James covers more distance and sprints more per 90. Biden's got 10 goals. Like, he's way more clinical. His minutes per goal is like half of what it is for Dan James and Nonto. So, obviously, these two here are much more clinical with the ball in the final third when they're shooting. Creativity is relatively close, I would say, between the top two and then Dan James. Dan James is slightly more creative on the passing somehow, but generally, it's the top two that are, you can see quite clear there, that they're by far the most effective players. Like, if you look at overall, I don't really care about the defending. And yeah, Dan James and Nonto are both going to go on to the transfer list. We'll see what we can get for them. Yeah, I've just added in appearances as well for this. You can see the starts and the sub-appearances next to them here. Basically got them listed as the 2 10s, the 2 A's, and then the 2 pivot players. Montoro didn't really play too much, so I can't really compare him to anybody else. So Baldanzi played almost every match, didn't he? As you can see there, 38 starts. We got knocked out of both cups relatively quickly, so he played pretty much every game as the 10. Open play key passes per 90. Again, Montoro sees much higher because it's a much smaller sample size, and he's coming on off the bench quite a bit. So that skews his stats a bit. So we're going to ignore Montoro. If you ignore that, Martinelli is the only player who's really a bit below. They're all relatively similar for that. Chances created per 90. Martinelli again is a bit lower, but Gruev is okay. Stack. And then you've got Baldanzi. Baldanzi's not looking too creative looking at this, is he? Anton Stack. Progressive passes per 90. 7.2. That is huge. Like, I wouldn't have expected that from him. He's playing really well. Pass completion ratio. Again, I only really care about this maybe for a pivot player. I don't really care about it for 10s and 8s. Kevin De Bruyne had a famous quote, didn't he, when they asked him about, I think, Rodri's pass completion, and he was like, yeah, that's great. It probably matters something like Rodri, but like for me, it doesn't matter at all. Like, it absolutely, like, not, he doesn't even look at it. Like, it's not even a factor whatsoever when you play in those more advanced areas. Tackle win ratio, looking okay. Interceptions per 90. So looking at this, Stack is looking really good. He's got the most possessions, 1 per 90, the most interceptions per 90, like tackles per 90. I know he's the pivot player, but Gruev and Martinelli and Basuma all had minutes at DM as well. See, I would usually be okay with selling him. Like, how much is he even worth? I mean, I don't know if I'd even take that. Like, I'd want it to be at least 30. He's been brilliant, and he's really good in the air, and he's apparently really good at taking set pieces. He loves taking the old corners, but I quite like him. If I feel like I can get a good replacement that suits our system and style of football, then I'll let him go because it's a lot of money. Like 30 million would be a lot of money, but like 15, and that's just, I don't know about that. So looking at all of this, don't really care about the defensive stats for any of them, apart from maybe the two pivots. Montoro's only just been signed. He's going nowhere. Baldanzi is... So Baldanzi, right? I think he's by far our best midfielder on paper. But looking at the stats there, he wasn't that impressive. So, like... I'm not going to try and sell him, but if I got a big offer, I wouldn't definitely say no, like I thought I would have done. Bissouma is going to be definitely here for another year. Martinelli was not very creative, actually. Like, Martinelli, I'm looking at him as being a genuine pivot player next season that just can dribble a bit, like, rather than... He's not really somebody that I would want further up. So that probably leaves then Gruev. Gruev or Martinelli, one of those two is going to get sold here. So let's just go back over the stats. Relatively similar appearances between the two of them. Looking expected assists goes to Gruev. Gruev did play slightly further up more often. Open play key passes goes to Gruev. Chances created goes to Gruev. Progressive passes goes to... I don't know. Looking at this, Martinelli is a prime candidate. So Martinelli, I did not think that I would be selling you. But looking at the difference in these two, I think he's got to be the one that goes. Especially when we were like struggling to create chances at times, right? Okay, this one's a bit simpler. It's just the 4 fullbacks here. We've got the starting right back, backup right back, starting left back, backup left back. Expect this is the same. Open play key passes. Goodmanson has quite a lot of those. Okay, chances created per 90 goes to the 2 starters. Progressive passes per 90 goes to the right back more than the left back. Again, it's you can't really compare right back to left backs because they play different roles. One's a fullback and one's a playmaking wing back. Dribbles per 90 goes to... Henrique and then Goodmanson. Tackle win ratio. So Leif Davis doesn't win a lot of his tackles. Like, he's the lowest, and he's significantly below Goodmanson and Henrique. So that's the kind of stat, the tackle win ratio, where it shouldn't really matter between the starter and the backup that much. Not that to that level. So Leif Davis has not done well in his tackle win ratio, but he's been good everywhere else. Key tackles per 90. Header win ratio, though, he's much better than Goodmanson. Yeah, overall, there's not too much difference between Leif Davis and Goodmanson. Goodmanson's just good at other stuff. What that tells me is that with Leif Davis, that he could be a starter next season, but he could also be a backup. Like, he's club homegrown, so he's going to be good for that. I'm not in any desperate situation to sell him. Moving on to centre-backs, we've already got one more than we need. We know that already. I put them in order of the sort of level I think that they have been playing for us. So we've got sort of Ribeiro is the first choice. Then you've got Podolski, Bornau, Bijol, and then Rodon. So we're going to skip all this section here. We're going to move straight to progressive passes, I guess, for a little bit. We're going to go straight, though, to tackles per 90. And all of these players have played in the same exact roles and positions. So the roles won't have... This will be genuinely looking at just the stats purely here. So tackles per 90. Bijol is really low on that. So does he offset that with something else? Yeah, his interceptions are high. So he offsets it, right? He's better at that than he is this. That's fine. But he's noticeably down on that, isn't he? Then tackle win ratio is slightly higher. Rodon's got 100%. Like every single tackle he made in his 4 starts and 4 appearances, he won. So there you go. Interceptions per 90. 3.2 for Bornau. Podolski, their possessions 1 per 90. So Bornau and Podolski both pretty good at that. So when I do my Moneyball saves, key tackles per 90 is my he gets on base stat. So then looking at this, you'd say that the 2 best centre-backs performance-wise are Ribeiro and Bornau. And that does sort of back up what I've noticed there. Like, I would say that Podolski, if we go back to, tackle win ratio starting around... And tackles per 90 and going through here. So he's got slightly more tackles than Bornau and slightly higher ratio, but then Bornau's got more interceptions per 90. Bornau's got slightly more possessions won. He's got way more key tackles. They're just as good as each other in the air, but he also does more high-intensity sprints. I would say that what is obvious to me is that these two are definitely performing below from a stats perspective of the other 3. So we're going to definitely transfer both of these two, and then, Kasper Podolski is going nowhere. I'd like to keep Bornau as well, really. Bornau, I would like to keep him. We've offered those 2 out, so that is pretty much your stats review of the players. I'm not going to go through the goalkeepers, to be honest. We had 1 starter, 1 backup, and it was pretty obvious who was who. We're going to try and start the backup and try and get some homegrown backup goalkeepers in, just because it makes it easier then for registration for the outfield players. We don't have to worry about getting homegrown players in as much in the outfield position. Okay, so look at the team stats then across the season. We finished in 12th place for average possession. Total goals scored, we were 7th, which is really good for a team that was in... I say in our position, we finished 6th in the end, didn't we? So we did all right, but 7th for goals per match. Expected goals over performance, we were 9th, so we can do slightly better on that. Okay, so non-penalty expected goals, we were 4th, so we did really well, actually, in terms of creating chances. We just weren't clinical. We did see that, actually, a few times in some of the videos, right? We did see some of that happening in our matches. We managed to score 9 from corners, which was the 3rd most in the league. And in terms of pass completion ratio, we were 17th, so that is something we can look to try and improve on. Obviously, we play a high-intensity tactic. We try and make lots of incisive passes, so that's going... I'm expecting us not to be brilliant at that all the time. We were top of shot on target ratio, though, so maybe our shots just aren't clinical enough, and there's not enough venom and power in the shots or something, because we've got most of our shots on target, apparently. But what that probably means as well is we're hitting a few shots from difficult angles and slightly further out that the keepers are saving. High-intensity sprints, Leeds United, look at that. Marcelo Bielsa's back, lads. Okay, so expected goals against, we were 13th, so mid-table, so we need to do slightly better in transition and defensively. We conceded 7 from corners. We scored 9, wasn't it? So we're +2 on corners. That's not enough, really, for us. We need to do slightly better. I mean, we didn't concede that many once I changed it to having 2 players up, but we conceded a few at the start, didn't we? We made the most fouls in the league. Brilliant. Love that. And in terms of wages, we have got the 15th highest wage bill in the division, and we managed to finish in a European place, so that is a very, very good effort from the lads. I'm going to continue a few days now to get some of these offers out, see what offers we get back for some of these players, to see roughly how much money we're going to have to spend if it all goes through. Okay, so what I've done first is I've gone to all the top 5 European leagues, and I've seen who's been relegated in each of those divisions, because obviously if they've been relegated, lots of players, good players, are going to leave their clubs. And we're going to be able to get them for a... Not only can we then get a slightly high level of player from those clubs, but we can get them for a much cheaper deal as well. So, this is what I found so far. So, Wolves got relegated in the Premier League, and we've got Jürgen Strand Larsen. It's still a pretty expensive transfer fee, but if we end up with a lot of money to spend, he could be somebody that we look to bring in. He fits that profile of player that we'd need. I don't know if I want to spend that much money on a striker when I've already got somebody else that I think is a starting player, but he's an option anyway. Johan Manzambi. He looks brilliant, by the way. He looks brilliant, and Freiburg did get relegated, so that's why he's interested in coming to us. I'm guessing he's going to want a load of money because he's going to get offers from other clubs, so that's where it's going to come from. Not his current wage, it's going to be the other offers that he gets that's going to be what drives up his wage demands. I've always loved Galeno, and he's available again for me, and he's not on that much wages. He's only going to cost 6.8 million. Look, I'm definitely going to sign him for that. Like, I'm definitely going to put an offer in and get him in. He's brilliant. Even if it's for one season, then we sell him the next year for double the money, that's fine. Just give us one season. Try and get us that next level in European football and see how he does. He's probably going to be joining us if nobody else beats us to him. There is Andy Jupp, I think I looked at in January. He's another player that would fit into that sort of the player we just looked at from Freiburg. They're almost the same player, aren't they? They've got very similar attributes there. And I'll keep track of Calvin Phillips. When I tried to sign him in January, he wanted so much bloody money. So it depends. I'll try and do it, viewers. I'll try and get him in, but like, just if his agent wants like 150 grand a week again, that ain't gonna happen. Okay, we're actually gonna search for specific positions now as we go through the list and see who we can find. If I don't show some obvious names that are here, it's just wages and transfer fees. We're writing it off. Mainly because I've got 2 strikers that I'm okay with, so I'm not desperate to replace them. Yeah, you've got Petar Ratkov from Salzburg. Yeah, there wasn't too many strikers, to be honest with you. There aren't too many around that fit the profile that we want. So I'm looking at strikers that can play wide for us. So Karim Konate is another one from Salzburg. Who, if he came in, he'd probably be moved to play on the right wing, but he's not 7 crossing. He'd be somebody who would definitely play wide for us. Could play as a striker if we go to a 2-striker system in some matches, but generally be a wide player. I don't know about wide players. There doesn't seem to be a lot of good value for money. There's some good players available, don't get me wrong. Do I want to spend 40 million? Do I want to spend 40 million on a player that might be a backup? Not really. Eric Martel. Welcome to Leeds United, Eric Martel. What is going on? He's absolutely brilliant. He's like Anton Stack, but younger. Like, he's just like a replacement. Oh, there is zero doubt. Who wants him? Yeah, get out, Villa. See you later, lads. I want this guy. He looks brilliant. He's like a centre-back that can play pivot, but is good enough technically to get away with it at pivot as well. So, no problems for me. Eric, you can come in, son. I might offer Anton Stack out as well now, just to see what we would get for him. Now that we have got a replacement that we'd be happy with. We'll see what offers come back for our current players. We'll see what we can do in terms of the transfer fee for the players we want to sign. And yeah, we'll come back in about, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks' time. We'll have a look and see how things have developed over the last, few weeks. So currently, these are your players that are going to be leaving as things stand, of course. A lot of times they reject the bloody contracts, but there's going to be 5 million for Dan James here. It's going to be 9.5 for Goodmanson. It's going to be potentially 11 for Bajol, 7.5 for the goalkeeper. One of our youngsters is going to go for quite a bit as well. That Anton Sack's got potentially 30 million on him there. Roland's got 10. A few bits there. And then in terms of players in, right, I've currently got contracts on Galeno, Salza, Diop, a backup goalkeeper, Mozambique, Konate. Everybody you've seen here, except for this player right here. This is a different one. So he's playing for Hamburg, who got relegated, by the way. I looked at him and I thought, I think he could easily be good enough to play as a pivot player. Look at his set pieces. 18 corners, 16 free kick taking. He's got great crossing. I feel like that as a pivot player, he'd be absolutely brilliant, but not so much as a left back. Maybe in matches where really dominating possession, he could easily play as the playmaking left back. He'd be really good for that. But yeah, he's somebody I was looking at. I've got a contract on him. I'm not going to do this until last because it depends who else we get, really. But I wanted to get a contract on him to see what we could do if we wanted to finish off that transfer. Gruev has already gone out. He went for £18 million. And then Martin and a couple others have already got their transfers confirmed. So that leaves us currently with £58 million to spend with 300 grand in wages. So that you're pretty much up to date. There isn't too much that's really been confirmed just yet. What I'm going to do now is the preseason starts quite soon for us. I'm going to start arranging some friendlies. And I'm going to mix it up of like some matches we're definitely going to win, some matches that are going to be a really big challenge and everything sort of in between. We'll just spread them out over the preseason. I'll let those play in the background, of course, with the assistant manager, and we'll see where the squad ends up. I just thought I'd bring you like a quick update. I didn't want to jump all the way to like the middle of July and be like, oh, this is what happened. So that's the current plan. That's the situation. Anyway, you're up to date. Let's see what we do for the rest of the transfer window. Okay, there has been a lot of transfers in and out over the transfer window. Obviously, I've shown you most of the players. I don't think I signed a single player that you hadn't already seen with me, like while I was searching and scouting. But let's take a look and see what business we managed to do going into the second season. We're going to start off with players out, going back to, it's been classed as the back end of last season, but really it was this summer. We've got Gruev, Perry, and Roden all going there for quite a bit of money together. And then in this season, as you can see, we've received a lot of money going through. Pretty much you can see all the starters there that have left. There's a few starters in there that you're not going to see anymore. Martinelli being one of them. Anton Stack, of course. Nonto, Dan James, and a few others. Calvert-Lewin. Lots of profits in there for players that we had already signed. Okay, then, players in. Right, starting with Sousa. In case any of you missed any of this in this episode or in the previous one when we looked at some players, actually it might have been the January transfer window, you've got Sousa, the left back. Again, really good going forwards and really good defensively. He's a very rare left back that can do a bit of both. He can be really good defensively and he can break forwards too. So he comes in he joins us for £13.5 million. I think he's going to be a really good fullback for us going forwards. Matthew Young, the goalkeeper from Sunderland, has come in. He's going to be our backup goalkeeper for this year. Johan Mazambi came in for £44.5 million. He is going to be the long-term replacement for Bissouma. He's going to be that high energetic box-to-box midfield player in... he's going to be a genuine 8 for us. But if he has to play as a 10, he could. And if he has to play as a pivot, he could. He can do a bit of everything for us. A lot of money, but we also made a lot of money, so it was fine. Galano joins us for £6.75 million. He's going to be a starting winger for this season, and then we'll probably let him go at the end of this season. He's going to be a one-season player, maybe 2. He's a wing on that extra level. I think he's an extra level above the players that we had. Kareem Konate was signed for £17.5 million. Do not look at his positions. He is only going to be a wide player for us. He's going to play on the right and be that. He's going to probably play with Galano in a lot of matches. Early in the season, I might not use him as much because he hasn't learned to play in the wide areas naturally just yet. But once he gets to learn there, he's going to be a wide player probably for, I'd guess, at least 2 seasons. I can't really see us selling him next year, unless he gets a really big offer, of course, which we're in that position, aren't we? I say that we don't really want to sell our player, or we're not going to sell our player. Really, it does depend on the offers that we get in. But he looks all right as a wide player. Most of you are familiar with him, I think. Issa Diop came in as the 4th choice centre-back. We've got a utility player. So Mira's going to come in and be our backup pivot player, an emergency left-back, an emergency centre-back. Emergency anything you want, really, for Miro. Patrick Osterhage. He comes in for about £17 million, left-footed, genuine number 8. I think he's really good. I think he's worth way more than what we paid for him. He's got great work, great teamwork, great stamina. He's just so good. For me, he's going to be our probably backup pivot player. He's just not quite got the tackling and positioning I would want for a starter. He's almost wasted there because he's a lot better going forward. He's got other strengths like his stamina and his work rate. I think he's better as the number 8 than a pivot player, but he can do anything we want him to. Good player, could play left back in an emergency too, which, that is something he could probably do for us. Eric Martel comes in. What a player. I love the look of him. Like, he's just a proper genuine... And I almost love the fact that he's not quick because I'm gonna play him. He's got everything I'd want in a player, apart from maybe the agility and some of the acceleration. The pace is fine. Maybe he's 1 or 2 low on dribbling for a pivot player, but I can't wait to see what he does. He looks really, really good mentally. Baku comes in for 12. I basically couldn't really get a right back that I was happy with, so I decided on getting Baku for 12. His release clause was 12 million, so he comes in for 12 million. He's going to be a backup for 1 season. Might get some minutes as a first choice, it depends, but really him and Henrique are both going to be gone, I think, at the end of the season. And lastly, we managed to sign Jorgen Strand Larsen. Now, it's 30 million and like 10% of the next sale, so it was a bit of money, but I couldn't find anybody in that sort of physical profile of striker that fit what I wanted to do. And like my reasoning was that even if he is the backup player, like the worst case scenario I'd expect is we lose him for like 15 or 20 next season. So we end up losing 10 million on him. That's what I think is the worst case scenario, barring any like injuries and things like that. Just talking about general performance. So I thought if that's the case, it's definitely worth bringing him in. He's going to be the backup to Guiu for the first half of the season. I will probably use him in the Europa League and the League Cup from FA Cup earlier on. So he's guaranteed 11 starts regardless of how Guiu does. Or doesn't do, or if he gets injured. So, Larsen comes in for £30 million. And the last player that's going to come in is Jaros. He's going to come in from Liverpool, and he's going to be a homegrown goalkeeper. So we're going to have 2 homegrown goalkeepers as our backup for Van der Voort. We haven't got a load of homegrown players in the squad. We're going to have 4, basically. And only 1 of them is from the club at the end of this transfer window. And who do we have first, you might think? Who is the first match, Jack? Who are we going to play? Nice, easy game, isn't it? No, it's Manchester City. At home, though, so there's that. They did change managers as well. So there's also that. That was your pre-season. We beat some teams. We lost to Sevilla, but did pretty good generally. Beat Club Brugge as well. So we've got City at home. This is going to be the game in today's episode that we are going to do. Let's have a look and see what the analyst thinks they're going to do. Yeah, we know they play 4-3-3, but they've got a different manager now, so... I'm pretty sure they do anyway. I'm absolutely certain it said that they changed managers. Let me check this now. Yeah, Luis Enrique is the manager, so it's going to be quite similar anyway in terms of, I think, the setup they're going to have. It's going to be 4-3-3. Be interesting to see exactly how they force their rotations, though. So I think going into this season, that is our best team. It's going to be, at least at the start, it's going to be Van der Voort in goal, Salza, Alexandre Podolski, Paulo Henrique across the back, Bissouma, Manzambi, Baldanzi is a 3, Galeno and Aidin on the wings, and then Guiu is going to start as the striker. I do think that's the best team we've got, at least to start off with, and we'll see how it all goes from there. There's going to be lots of rotation, though, in the early Europa League games and that kind of stuff. For this match, though, we have got a couple of players out. So Manzambi's out, and I think that the best thing to do is go Bissouma to start midfield, and then we're going to play Martel as the starting pivot player in there. Here we go. Come on, Leeds United. First game of the season against Manchester City. We're the underdogs. We'll say that to the lads. Just going to confirm their formation. We're going to have to adjust it, obviously, aren't we? I forgot to adjust it before the game. It's definitely 4-3-3, okay. So we're going to force them this side in the 4-3-3. He's going to go on to Rodri, and these two are going to pick up the 2 8s, as it were, the 8s and the 10s. We'll let it go to the left back, and we'll see how they play out against that. They've got the ball here with Foden in a dangerous position. He's gone past Podolski. He's going to go past the other defender as well. He's going to cut this back to Rafinha, who's in a good area. Crosses it towards the far post, headed away by Salza. Oh, they're going to hit the ball back, aren't they? Rico Lewis has got it. He goes past the player, goes inside to Savinho. Savinho cuts it back. It's going to be a shot by Bernardo Silva. It's deflected and it goes in. It's going to be 1-0 to City. There's a highlight straight away after the goal, though. Salza gets it. He's going to play it in to Galeno. Galeno's going to play it back to Salza. We have made a lot of changes to the team, so I'm expecting us to start a bit slowly this year. Right, what we got here, Galeno? Have we got somebody in the feet? Yeah, we do. Baranzi gets it. He plays it back to Salza. Salza's got a few options. Plays Aidin. I think he's onside as well. He's got Bissouma with him. Oh, that's a great pass. If only he wasn't offside. Foden's got it. Plays it to Rafinha. We've got players back supporting here. They're going to get through. They've got Rodri sort of free. Okay. That didn't look too bad, though. We need to get back and support, though. We can't have Savinho going 1v1 at him. Good. Okay. They go back inside. It's good. Oh, it's great. But look at this. Oh, well, there you go. I mean, 2-0. We'll see. I want to see something better. I'll keep it the same for a few minutes, and then we'll have to probably go for it quite early if we're going to get back into this. We need to get... We're not getting enough half-space runs. Like, Galano's not really finding Baranzi, so we might need to be a bit more aggressive with our in-possession formation here. We'll give that a try. Bring on Larson as well up front. Why not? They've got Bernardo Silva in space to get to Savinho. He's going to drive. Is he going to try and pass this now? He's gone inside. He plays he's going to get it to Foden. I don't believe that. Foden goes through, plays across the Haaland. Was he offside? No, 3-0. That's going to be probably game over. We've got someone who plays forward. We've got Leif Davis there, and then Galano's there. So, I don't know what Gavardo's doing over here. Where's he playing? Well, we've absolutely destroyed him here. Go on, Galano. Go on, then. Goes inside. Galano, on his debut. Is he going to cut it back to somebody? Cut it back. Oh, lads. Somebody. Oh, it's in. It's a goal. It's 3-1. Come on. As long as they don't score from this highlight, I think we've got a chance going back. Oh, Rafinha's through. Wow. 4-1. Right, I'll see the end of the game. That's definitely going to be it now, I think. Well, that's 4-2. There's a highlight here with 5 minutes to go, and then play the ball in behind, and we're not going to quite get there. I've actually gone for it as well on the out-of-possession formation. I'll show... If we come back, I'll show to you what I've done. But I anticipate we're just going to concede. Oh, why are we still going forwards, lads? Oh, what are we doing? This is like... This is not good defending, lads. I've got to be honest, or even in transition. Right. Now it's definitely game over. And there you are, finishes 5-2 to Manchester City. And that is going to conclude today's episode. That was a big episode. There were lots of things done, lots of players in and out. I told you I'd be aggressive on the transfers. We're going to start slowly this season because of the amount of players that have been turned over. Also, we might need to tweak the tactic a bit. Like, we didn't create much against City until I dropped the mentality. So it might be that I might need to drop to positive this year. But we'll go through all that anyway through the rest of the season. Do let me know what kind of matches you want to see going into this second season. We're going to play... I'll play the first Europa League game. And then I'll probably skip the whole rest of the group stage. You'll come back for the knockouts. We'll probably watch some of the more... I might skip the League Cup third round. But then we can maybe watch the fourth round and onwards if we get a tough opponent. But yeah, lots of interesting players. Lots of players that can play in multiple different positions. So lots of freedom for us to change things around. Looking forward to the second season. For me, success would be getting into Europe again and winning a trophy. And if we end up not winning a trophy and we don't get into Europe at all in the league table, that might be slightly disappointing. But let's see what happens. It might be that we end up on 65 points and we actually do okay, but other teams just do better. Well, let's just see what happens. But that's the target this year. Win a trophy or get back into Europe, hopefully both. And yeah, that is going to be the target for the season. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the series, everybody. And I'll see you all next time.